We have Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers taking on Drake May and the New England Patriots. This is your Week 3, 2025 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe button if you're new. Also hit the like button. Let's start with the home team, the New England Patriots. They're coming off an electrifying win last week over the Miami Dolphins. They won this matchup 33-27, and this has been the best game so far in Drake May's career in the NFL. He was 19-23 for 230 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns to 0 interceptions. And on top of that, he had 31 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown. So 3 total touchdowns on the day. He had one of the best quarterback performances last week in the NFL. And I love this matchup for the Patriots because when you go against a team like the Steelers, you may think of Cameron Hayward, TJ Watt, Jalen Ramsey on the back end. They have very good defensive players, but they're struggling to stop the run right now. We've seen this happen last week against the Seattle Seahawks. We saw this happen in Week 1 against the New York Jets and in that playoff game against the Baltimore Ravens. This is going to come down to Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator with the New England Patriots, and he's had a lot of success in the past going against the Steelers when Tom Brady was his starting quarterback, when they had Bill Belichick as the head coach, going against Coach Austin, the defensive coordinator for the Steelers. Run the football, the opposite side of TJ Watt. That's where the majority of the big splash plays has come on the ground. TJ Watt is one of the best players in the NFL. He's one of the best pass rushers in general. But Alex Highsmith is out for this matchup. Run the football as much as possible in between the tackles opposite of TJ Watt. You have to get that run game going. Because if you can get that run game going and you can play through your running backs and play through the legs of Drake May, this could be a sneaky upset for the New England Patriots. Look at how efficient Drake May was last week against the Miami Dolphins. And Ramondre Stevenson was a huge part of that. He had 54 rushing yards on 11 attempts. That's 5 yards a carry. And the longest rush of the day went for 21 yards. And Ramondre Stevenson led this team not only in rushing, but also in receiving. He had 5 catches for 88 receiving yards. Now, one of those plays did go for 55 yards. But you have that versatility coming out of the backfield now with Ramondre Stevenson. We all know what happened last year with him. He had a huge problem in terms of fumbling the football. That hasn't been the case so far. You have Antonio Gibson. He had 5 carries last week for 27 rushing yards. You can use running back by committee in this approach. And you have Travion Henderson, the rookie. Many Patriots reporters are saying that he is similar to James White coming out of the backfield. And be on the lookout for Antonio Gibson. This man also had a crazy kick return last week that helped get the New England Patriots the lead on the Miami Dolphins. So use those players coming out of the backfield against the Steelers and their linebackers. You can expose them in space over and over again with that quick game with Drake May. And he's been pinpointing, he's been very accurate so far from the second half of that Las Vegas Raiders game, carrying that over against the Miami Dolphins. And obviously, you want to go out there and alleviate that pressure off of Drake May. Watch out for Cameron Hayward and the same with TJ Watt. With Alex Highsmith being out for this matchup, you can do what the Seahawks did last week. Essentially, they triple-teamed TJ. They made sure that he was not going to come off the edge over and over again. You can chip him with a tight end. You can block him with a running back. And I'm just saying have that help on that side. You're not going to have TJ Watt in one-on-one situation with a tight end or a running back. That's crazy. But you shift protection towards that side and use more quick game. You should be able to have a very good game in this matchup against the Steelers. And avoid Jalen Ramsey. And you have wide receivers that can come in and help you out. Austin Hooper had 3 catches for 38 receiving yards last week. That's the big tight end. Stephon Diggs has been quiet so far in game 1 and also in game 2. But we know that Stephon Diggs can still go out there and give you a lot of good plays. He had 4 catches for 32 receiving yards last week. Go to him on 3rd down. You need those big plays. You need a for sure target. You go to Stephon Diggs. Because the Steelers, they love to run a lot of man coverage. So if you can get Stephon Diggs on some crossing routes, run some double moves, especially if Joey Porter Jr. is able to play in this matchup, you can get some free penalties down the field. And you have Kayshawn, who had a receiving touchdown last week, 1 catch, 16 receiving yards. He's been their most consistent wide receiver over the last few years. This is a very solid offense with the New England Patriots, but take your time. Don't rush things, because usually when you rush your offense against a great pass rush in the Steelers, with TJ Watt, with Cameron Hayward, and they also have Herbig, you may be in some trouble there. Because this is a young offensive line on the left side with Will Campbell and the same with Jared Wilson. You have Garrett Bradbury at the center position. He's had some up and down moments in his career. I'm worried about him matching up with Cameron Hayward in the interior, but you can help him out. Morgan Moses is questionable for this matchup. He's a veteran right tackle. He has that experience against going against top edge rushers in football. But offensively, you take care of the football, you get Drake May into a rhythm, you run the football opposite of TJ Watt, and use clock management. And make sure that the Steelers are playing from behind so you can pin your ears back and you can get to Aaron Rodgers on a consistent basis. And speaking of the defense here, the defense, they were able to get to Tua at a high rate last week. He got sacked 5 times. Now, Tua was 27-32 for 315 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and the 1 interception. Christian Gonzalez is questionable for this matchup. It would be amazing for him to play because you could put him in one-on-one situations with DK Metcalf, and you should be okay with that matchup. If he's not able to play, you still have a very good front 7 that should be able to get to Aaron Rodgers over and over again. And this is the thing with Aaron Rodgers. He still has one of the best arms in the NFL. He can move around. A lot of analysts are saying that he's a scarecrow inside the pocket. That's not the case. He doesn't have Josh Allen, Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson type of mobility. He doesn't have the same skills behind the line of scrimmage that he once had. But you have to knock him off his spot because if you don't, he'll get the football out quick to the running backs coming out of the backfield in Jaylen Warren. And he'll take that deep shot down the field to someone like Calvin Austin III or Roman Wilson. So your pass rush has to be up in this matchup. And Harold Landry, he's been phenomenal so far coming off the edge. That's why I love the signing when the Patriots brought him in this offseason. He has some of the best years of his career with Mike Vrabel when he was the former head coach with the Tennessee Titans. Be on the lookout for him in this matchup. Milton Williams, who is an elite run stopper. This man had 2 sacks, already has 2 sacks on the season. He can get to the passer at a consistent rate. And you have Christian Barmore. So on paper, the Patriots, you should be able to make the Steelers one-dimensional. Take that run game away. This is a Steelers team right now. They're struggling to run the football. And this has been the case dating back to last season. So you make this team one-dimensional. They try to run some quick game, flip your linebackers back into coverage, and take away those easy passing lanes to the running back. And the same with DK Metcalf underneath, and target this offensive line and beat up Aaron Rodgers over and over again. And you can run some press man coverage as long as your front 7 can get home. Make those wide receivers have to work in space. And I'm talking about DK Metcalf here, the same with Calvin Austin III. And be on the lookout for the tight ends. They have Big Pat, who's a very good player, and the same with Jonnu Smith, who's a former player with the New England Patriots. As far as the linebackers here, Robert Spillane, he's a former Steeler. He's excellent against the run, a phenomenal tackler. You have Christian Ellis. He's a very good linebacker as well. You have Clavon, who can come off the edge and give you consistent pressure here and there, especially on 3rd down. If Christian Gonzalez is not able to play, you have Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis has been a very good cornerback in his career. You have Jalen Hawkins on the back end in terms of the safety position, and the same with Kyle Ducker and Marcus Jones, who's a solid cornerback. Be aggressive against the Steelers team, stop the run, put the pressure on Aaron Rodgers, and make them play from behind. Make them have to go out there and take those deep shots down the field over and over again. But I love this matchup for the Patriots here because you have so many versatile weapons on the offensive end that can attack the weak spots of the Steelers. Now let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. They're coming off a nasty loss last week against the Seattle Seahawks. 31-17. It is not as bad as the box score says. The Steelers are back and forth with the Seahawks entering halftime. It came down to one crucial play late in the game. Caleb Johnson. It's a kick return. The ball hits his helmet. He continues to run. That play goes for a touchdown. It was a brain dead play by Caleb Johnson. And Mike Tomlin has come out and he said that Caleb Johnson is benched for this game. He will not be on special teams. But when you look at Aaron Rodgers on the day, 18-33, 203 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 interceptions, got sacked 3 times. The offensive line has to be better in this matchup against the New England Patriots. You have to be on lookout for Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, and the same with Harold Landry. Broderick Jones needs to be better in this matchup. So far, Broderick Jones can be labeled as a bust with this team with the Steelers. He hasn't looked good at the left tackle position. You have Isaac at the left guard position, Zach Frazier at the center spot, Mason McCormick, Troy Fatanu. So you have some young players on this roster. But the offensive line protection has to be better. Aaron Rodgers had little to no time inside the pocket. He was pressured on majority of his throws last week. You can't have that in this matchup because the one thing that we know about Mike Vrabel teams, going back to the Tennessee Titans, their defenses, they're aggressive and they will take the football away from you and they will turn that over 2 points. So the Offensive line has to be the biggest key here for the Steelers, and they have to get the run game going. The run game has been so inconsistent with the Steelers. Jaylen Warren last week was the best player on the offensive end. He had 48 rushing yards, but only averaged 3.4 yards a carry. The longest rush of the day was 13 yards by Kenneth Gainwell. He had 5 carries, 20 rushing yards. But check this out. With the 48 rushing yards that Jaylen Warren had, he was the leading wide receiver. 4 catches, 86 receiving yards. That should never be the case when you have DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin III, Pat, and Jonnu Smith. Get other weapons involved. Run some screen game if you have to, but you have to get your best players to football over and over again. And I know that DK Metcalf did have the receiving touchdown. It was a short yardage situation. But get DK Metcalf going deep down the field. Use him as a decoy. If you cannot get the run game going in this matchup against the Patriots, I know what Arthur Smith was trying to do. He was trying to just go out there and use the swing passes and use those short passes to substitute for a run game. But that's not going to always work, especially against a team like the Patriots who have very good linebackers that can tackle in space. You have to keep this team off balance. So a bunch of curl routes could work out in your favor. But the Patriots are going to go out there and play that press man coverage and sit on top of those wide receivers. You got to run some different routes. You got to be creative here. That's what I'm saying. The offensive line is the biggest component here with the Steelers. If the offensive line cannot block for Aaron Rodgers, it's only so much that you could do in this matchup and for the rest of the season. And I would run Jaylen Warren more so in between the tackles. He averages 5.6 yards a carry in his career between the tackles. He's not this outside back. He does have juice coming out of the backfield. But those toss plays, those stretch plays, they're not working right now. So be physical, run in between the teeth of the defense and get him going. And the same with Kenneth Gainwell. Right now, I would ease up on Caleb Johnson. I wouldn't play him much in this matchup at the running back position. He had the -1 rushing yard against the New York Jets. He can't get things going. But Jaylen Warren is a physical running back. Kenneth Gainwell is a solid rotational back. Try to get that run game going and stick with that run game. And be more creative on the offensive end. And move DK Metcalf around. It was one play last year against the New England Patriots when he was a former Seattle Seahawk with Geno Smith. They had him inside the slot, and that play went for a touchdown because the Patriots defense was off balance. You're used to seeing DK Metcalf be this outside wide receiver. And I'm not saying put him in the slot for the entire game, but move him around. Just get him the football as much as possible. And the same Calvin Austin III, he can make moves in space. And there was a lot of drops last week with the Steelers in the open field. They need to do a better job with that as well. Darnell Washington did have the big play that went for a 2-point conversion attempt. And I look at Darnell Washington, he's more so of a blocking tight end. So if you want to go out there and run a heavy package, get him on the field. But besides that, your 2 receiving tight ends, it should be Pat and Jonnu Smith. Far as the defense here with the Steelers, they just have to be better. The players have to step up and the coaching has to be better with Coach Austin. You've allowed a lot of rushing yards already this season and it's only been 2 games. You have to go out there and contain the run game and put that pressure on Drake May. TJ Watt has been very quiet so far this season. We're used to TJ Watt going out there and putting up crazy numbers. He has 0 sacks, 0 forced fumbles, and 0 interceptions. And it's not all on TJ Watt. The system hasn't been the best. The scheme isn't there. Coach Austin needs to move him around. With Alex Highsmith being out in this matchup, you have Nick Herbig. Now, Nick Herbig is a better run stopper than Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith is more so of a guy that's going to go back there, pin his ears back, get to the passer, which is phenomenal. But Nick Herbig, he can get to the passer, he can force the fumble. You have to go out there and force Drake May to have those turnovers how he had last year. Make him uncomfortable. And on the secondary, play more so of the zone coverage package in this matchup. You had an all-out blitz last week. Jalen Ramsey had the interception, but he also gave up a touchdown in the back end to Torrey Horton, the rookie for the Seattle Seahawks. Mix in some zone, mix in some man, and you can blitz Drake May in this matchup, but be very careful with that because Josh McDaniels is one of the best offensive minds that we've seen in this game. Derek Harmon, he's questionable for this matchup. He's the big rookie that you draft out of Oregon, but he's a phenomenal player. Look at what he was doing in the preseason. If he's able to play, that changes this entire defensive line up front because now you have Cameron Hayward, Keanu Benn, and Derek Harmon. They can all get to the passer. They can all stop the run. But the gap responsibility has to be there. And move Keanu Benn around. Let him play some edge rusher. Let him play some nose tackle. Right now, he's primarily the defensive tackle, but move him around the defensive line and see where his best fit is as a player. Patrick Queen and Peyton Wilson, they have to step up. More so Patrick Queen than Peyton Wilson. Patrick Queen had a very good season last year. The 2 games so far, he's been terrible in open space against the running backs and the same against tight ends. They gave up a lot of splash plays to A.J. Barner last week. I look at the Patriots right now. They can get the football to Austin Hooper, and he can break out some big plays if you're not careful. Deshaun Elliott is questionable for this matchup. We'll see if he's able to play, but you did sign Jabril Peppers, who is a former player with the New England Patriots. They cut him a couple weeks ago. You have Warren Thornhill on the back end of this defense, and Joy Porter Jr., he's questionable in this matchup with a hamstring injury. But even if all these players are able to play that are questionable, change up your defensive looks and give them a different type of diet. Because if you go out there and you run the same scheme that you've been running the last 2 weeks, Josh McDaniels will cut that up with a paper cut offense. He will go out there, dink and dunk his way down the field. Then eventually they'll take that deep shot with Kayshawn or Stephon Diggs. That is what happened last week against the Miami Dolphins. And they do have enough juice on this team with the athleticism of Drake May making plays inside and outside the pocket. But pressure is going to be your biggest thing here for Drake May and just containing / stopping the run. And that comes down to Coach Austin and clock management as well with Mike Tomlin. On special teams, I will put Kenneth Gainwell out there. He's a veteran over someone like Caleb Johnson. Like I mentioned before, Caleb Johnson will be benched on special teams in this matchup. But it was a closer game last week before that play happened with Caleb Johnson. Now, historically in the past, the Steelers, they've struggled against New England Patriots. And we're going back to when they had Big Ben and Tom Brady was on the Patriots roster. I know we've come a long way since then. But with how the defense with the Steelers is looking right now, they have been able to stop the run in a very long time. And they also gave up a lot of big plays in the air towards Sam Darnold last week. I believe that the Patriots will come out and they'll win this game. And I have the New England Patriots winning this matchup 28-23. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? The Steelers or the Patriots? And one more thing about the Steelers defense. In the last 10 games, you've allowed the offense to gain 300 yards. That's the longest streak in the NFL. And they're allowing 28 points per game. Those are just the numbers. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.